You're tuned in to Conversation with Cardinal Dolan. I'm Father Dave Dwyer, and we're now joined right here in our studio by friend of the Catholic Channel, Kathryn Lopez. She is a senior fellow at the National Review Institute and editor-at-large of National Review. She also produces the daily feature here heard on the Catholic Channel, Things That Caught My Eye. She joins us today to talk about her new book, A Year with the Mystics, Visionary Wisdom for Daily Living. Kathryn Lopez, welcome.
Thank you,
Welcome
Father
back to the
Dave.
show.
Yippee. I'm always happy when you're on, Kathryn Jean. I admire her, and she's a good friend. We go way back. And what a plus with this one. Now, I like your methodology, and in fact, because we'll talk about my forthcoming book next week, but I like a book that you can pick up and in a minute or two get a nugget.
Right.
And that's what you've done. It's a diary, isn't it? It's a daily meditation. You don't go by the dates. But
Right.
somebody could start, I'm going to start on day 98. And it's a little meditation each day, right?
Yeah. People need those small doses
Sure they
because
do.
people are overwhelmed and don't feel like they have a lot of time. This is 400 pages or so, but you just take it one day at a time. And honestly, I'm like a novena failure. I can never do.
The
by the
9.
third day, I forget. And so I love the fact these aren't numbered day 1, day 2,
Try
day
the
3.
9-minute novena to the Infant of Prague.
9
That's
minute
an old
I could do.
9 minutes you could do, yeah.
9 minutes?
As long as my phone is on the other side of the room.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
But that's the thing. We're all, my phone's not here. I'm starting to get nervous.
Oh, yeah.
We're all addicted to all these screens. And so if somebody can take this and open it, I'm using it myself because I don't feel like the author of this book. I feel like the curator. They're all saints. So Augustine, Mother Cabrini's in here, which I
Good.
thought was a really important thing. She's got like 4 entries in there because people think of her as a doer,
This
right?
activist, yeah.
Right. But she did what she did because of her prayer.
Well, that's an attractive methodology. So what Kathryn would do, if I got it right, she'd have a little intro in italics, and then a quote from a saint or a theologian, and then at the end ask some incisive questions that might lead somebody to a bit of a meditation or an examination of conscience. That's a methodology, isn't it?
Exactly. Just a little prompt at the end. And with all of these meditations, I think the goal is to bring you deeper into the heart of Christ. Mm-hmm. And so I almost feel like the reason I put this together is, well, ultimately they asked me to, but because I have all these meditations that I wanted to share with people.
I was going to ask you, are you like me? Now, I'm old-fashioned, and I have these big old ledger books. Whenever I come across a quote, I will cut it out and tape it into a book.
Oh.
And then I kind of, in the back, have an index. Really? Now, it really came in handy when I was rector in Rome, because I'd have I could look, I'm giving a talk on honesty, and so I go to the back and see some quotes. Do you do that? Do you collect shreds and stuff?
I totally do, but you're more organized than I am.
So you just have a big sewing basket of them, or what?
I have a huge purse filled with books and papers, and it's a big old disaster. So when the St. Benedict's Press asked me to do this, I was so grateful because I got to clean up my purse a little bit.
And did you organize it and say, this one's going to make it, this isn't? Or?
Well, yes. Yeah, I did a lot of that. And then there were long, boring copyright issues at one point. So the only way I was able to finish this book is I literally sat in the back of churches with my laptop and really, really just trusted being in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament and for the order.
And what was the criteria, Kathryn Jean? Was it something that hit you and you said, I got to share this, or were you looking more for topics?
Well, it really is sort of a lifetime's worth of finding things and having them affect me. I try to have a mix of the passion and the resurrection and prayer in daily life.
I see, but if you'd say, I haven't done much yet on the Eucharist, or here, this is
then
one.
I would.
I
Exactly,
see. Okay.
Exactly.
So you try to get a good balance.
I did. I definitely tried. And I start early. Actually, I start with the Gospel of John is the first entry. I thought that was important.
Why not? Yeah.
Because and
He
for
was
people,
kind of a mystic.
It was totally. And actually, this was not in this diocese. I will preface this. During the course of putting this book together, the gospel one of the days, sort of the end, I think, of me trying to put this together, the gospel was Jesus talking to the Father in the Gospel of John. And the priest said, God bless him, he says, I'm not even going to bother preaching on this today because it's too mystical. No one can understand it. And my heart almost broke. I wanted to rush the altar. Father, don't give up, you know? And so that one is in here too. And part of what I hope this does is demystify mysticism a little bit.
Well, this is good, and it does, because a lot of people might get put off thinking mystics are so cerebral. You make them very practical, and especially when they see some of the names.
Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that you would never think of a mystic. They say great saints have to be that beautiful combination between the mystical and the active, right? You need both.
Right. And actually, you'll appreciate, well, of course, Teresa of Avila is in
Today,
there, her
feast
day today. She, we consider her a master of the spiritual life, but you'll appreciate not everyone has gone on to heaven from this book.
I saw that.
I have Father Donald Haggerty from our
well, you
Archdiocese
should.
there.
You know what it reminded me of, and I know you're a fan too, of Magnificat.
Yes.
The daily, I find Magnificat excellent. So when I try to make my holy hour early in the morning, and one of the things I do is look at the readings for the day to prepare my little homily, and then I'll look at the meditation they have. And those are nuggets, aren't they?
They are.
So yours is sort of like that. It's not all scriptural. And some of the people I didn't recognize, do you give IDs for who they are?
You know, at the end, I didn't. And part of it was a time thing. But actually, what I found, my prayer was that people would go Google if they didn't know somebody, or if they were attracted to the meditation.
Going through, I open it now, this John Towler. OP. Now you do give the indication of where the reference came from, but I thought, I wonder who he was. But you're trying to be more hook somebody to say, I like this. I wonder who he is. And is it working? You're
that's what people are telling me. And actually, Father Towler is somebody who I got to know through Magnificat. I wouldn't know him.
So he's in there. Okay.
Yeah. Very frequently, Father Cameron used to use him fairly frequently. And so some of these meditations definitely come from my Magnificat reading over the years. I even thank Father Cameron up front because of that. And I thought it was important too to have he's in the Dominican, to have Franciscan, Carmelite, have a little bit of everything.
Diocesan priest,
Diocesan priest,
exactly.
Exactly.
Paulus?
Father Hecker was
That'll have to be the second volume.
Second volume.
Yeah, that'll be the follow-up.
We'll have to have you in there.
Yes. Yeah,
somewhat mystical.
It obviously couldn't be a year with the mystics, but
year with the extroverts.
A year with the culture.
Right.
Yeah. Because that of course is important work as well. And you can't work in the culture, engage with the culture, if you don't have a deep prayer life. If you
K-Lo, that's what they call her now.
K-Lo,
like
Kathryn Jean Lopez.
K-Lo. But
Very
what I like, of all the somber news that we have, and we do have a lot when it comes to the church and to the faith, the glow is that people like spirituality. Now, I'm not a fan of that word because sometimes it can be a little Gnostic, but it means well, and that people still have a thirst for the divine, and they're eager to pray, and they're hungry for things that will enhance their interior life. And so they're looking for practical, and this meets it, Kathryn Jean.
I was so excited to see that Target carries this book online. I thought, if somebody can be hooked in,
that beautiful?
That would just be amazing. And I do know a number of non-Catholics who are praying with this book right now, and help them understand that we're all about Jesus Christ.
That's right.
Which sometimes people don't understand.
In the midst stands Jesus, as the Gospels tell us, right? And that's true for us as Catholics.
Maybe we'll have future John Henry Newmans who get hooked in by some.
I thought you might be over for the canonization because you've been a fan of Cardinal Newman. But haven't you?
Yeah.
Is he in there?
Absolutely. I think he has an entry in here.
Okay.
And when Pope Francis talked in his homily about, he said something about a deep, hidden peace. This is the goal with this book, to help people establish that, renew a peace.
I can't remember now where I was, and I was almost moved to tears because of the occasion. And the preacher closed with his beautiful, God has a plan for me. God has a purpose for me. that beautiful. And I used it then Sunday when I had Mass for the families of the police officers who have taken their lives here in the New York Police Department. Because they said, don't feel there's an emptiness or God has something. God has a purpose. We might not see it now.
And one of the things that's beautiful about that prayer is he says, I'm just a link in the chain, but God has something particular for me.
That's
so
right.
it's neither of the two extremes, like, oh, I don't matter.
I like too,
but I'm also not the be-all, end-all.
I like, too, about Cardinal Newman when the oratorians, he was an oratorian, and when the young oratorians came around and said, would you give us this key to the success of your life? Now, they thought it was going to be some erudite, cerebral. He said, yeah, get up early, say your morning prayers, have a light breakfast, do your work, say the Angelus, eat your lunch, take a 20-minute nap, get up, go back to your work, do it well, be on time. It was all practical stuff like your grandma would tell you. You know, no big secret here, just live a responsible daily life. I love that. I used to use that for the seminarians all the time, you know.
Nice.
Reminds me of John the 23rd. He was so spiritual and so
remember?
practical.
In his
Yes.
diary, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, way to go, Kathryn Jean.
Thank you.
Well, this isn't the first of your writings.
No.
So we will wait for some more.
It's the most gold-edged of your writings. Though.
Yes, and the most
Yes, it certainly
attractive.
is.
This is kind of not that it should remain there, but it would be a very appropriate coffee table book.
No, pick it up.
For people to pick up. I would like to see it in doctors' offices.
Okay.
I'd like to see it in priests' parlors.
Okay, yes.
Oh, I've spent so much money on this book already just to give to priest friends.
Oh, I can imagine, yes. Do not use it as a coaster. St.
Do not
Benedict
use it as
Press,
a coaster.
A Year with the Mystics, Visionary Wisdom for Daily Living, Kathryn Jean Lopez. Way to go. Thank you.
And also,
come
of course,
back.
listen for things that caught Kathryn's eye here on the Catholic Channel.